And good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to July 14th edition of Makers and Movers Podcast. I'm your host, Todd. Happy Monday. Welcome all. Hopefully, you had a great weekend. First up, let me know if you can hear me, see me. Everything works there. Should, but we know how that goes. It's your first time here or long time here. I need to know who you are, where you're from, what weather is like in your area, what's in your cup of drink, and five things. What are five things that you are going to accomplish today? For us, we've got quotes that need to get going out. We've got orders for supplies that need to be done. And we've got shirts that need to be pressed, DTF that needs to be put and going, and temporary tattoos. That's the five things that need to happen today. What are your five things? And make sure like, subscribe, share. Sharing's caring, folks. Get out there and do it. Today, we're talking about why your brand matters. Uh, Thanks to a good friend of the show, Brian, I got a sent a link to a 6-hour video last week from Caleb Ralston, and so going through each section of that, we're going to kind of break that down and make it more manageable, bite-sized pieces. And we're going to present you that content. So that's a series that we're starting on, and part one is why brand matters. So we're going to go through that, and especially why it matters for the small apparel decorators, the solo makers, and we're gonna break it down real talk, everyday language. What branding really means, how it helps you stand out, and how to build one that sticks without spending a fortune of money. Now, I will be find the link. Let me copy that link. Where is that? I'll copy that. I will put the link down here in the comments so that way you can go 6 hours, watch that. I've watched it once all the way through. I'm started back on the second time because I have it in the background that we're going through it. Now, in this, we're going to talk about why your brand already exists, even if you've never made one. How branding builds trust before anyone buys from you, ways to be memorable even in that sea of custom shirt sellers, how to save time by locking in our brand voice and style, and why strong brands attract better customers with a lot fewer headaches. So when we look at this, we're gonna have action steps. Kind of the big action step for this is to pick three words you want people to associate with your business, and then ask three people what they think. Then compare, course correct. You might be surprised with it. Also, down in the description, you'll find links to everything. This month's book for July was Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Link to go check that out. There's also links to join our mentorship community, save over at JP Plus, save over at Creative Fabrica, waitlist for our marketing agency. And remember, all those affiliate links, they are affiliate links. Cost you nothing to use them, helps keep the lights and mics on. So go ahead and put those in there for it. Now, let's check in and see how people are doing. Brian, fair week, as in fair week. Yeah, we've got fair week for us too. Fair week for us too. I got to see what's going on each night because I got to go get pictures taken because we did, we sponsored part of the fair. So thanks for reminding me. Dangerous thunderstorms predicted, dude. It's wild. Mountain Dew, five things design. There you go, five things just design. And Renee's got 70 on the way to 96. It is foggy AF out here. I just went and grabbed another drink because this one's just about done. I need another one. It is foggy AF out there. Renee's got water in the bottle, coffee in the cup. One, photo shirts. Two, photo acrylic samples. Three, stop hitting enter before I'm done. Four, dermatologist. Five, paperwork. And hi, Brian. We've got Krista's ortho appointment today to see, how check in to see our foot's doing. We have Corey's ortho appointment to see how her arm's doing today. So those are the two things. We've got Hudson's birthday party on Friday. So Friday will be a short day. Friday we typically make short days anyway. So if there's not a big load of production, we build that up. Friday we'll be out of the office early because we are doing a birthday party again for Hudson on Friday. So keep that in mind. Showtime, everything will stay the same there with it. Uh, Jerry, morning all. Hi, Todd, Brian, and Renee. And Jeff checking in, morning all. Jeff, did your print head working? Did you get it working? Tell me more about that. What 72, Diet Coke in the cup, 5 things. Print, cut, pack, mail, run, laser up a hat. Very nice. And Jerry says, I'm working on branding every day. Jeff, master printer. Good morning, Jerry and Jeff from Renee. Morning, Jerry and Renee. I haven't even looked outside yet to know if it's foggy. It was wild. Like for it being 8:30 and not being able to see the end of the block. Yeah, it was going to be gross. Barb says, "Good morning, North Central Minnesota, 66 hazy smoke." Oh, that's right. I remember see something about that. We're supposed to have some smoke, be able to see some smoke in there. Cloudy, water in the cup, 5 things. Alteration appointments, fresh shirts if transfers arrive, cut label embroider bags, invoicing. Really, Jeff? Yeah, I like how they do that. Cindy, I finally got in. I couldn't get the live load. Well, I'm glad you were able to join us, Cindy. Barb from Jerry. Hi, Brian and Jeff. And Renee from Barb. And hi, Barb and Cindy from Renee. And morning, Barb from Jeff. And hi, Jerry and Cindy from Barb. And Jerry says vacation week for me. Leave Thursday until July 29th. Where are you going, Jerry? I think that's new. I haven't heard that. Jeff, he logged in my PC, changed a ton. Seems that didn't set up the software correctly. The good stuff about right ordering there. So at least they were able to remote in and get it taken care of for you. Hi there, Cindy from Jerry. Where are you off to, or is it a staycation? From this to Jerry from an A. Linda checking in. Thanks, Linda, for checking in. Hi, everyone just got here. So keep checking in. Remember, your comments help move this along. Your shares help move this along. Make it interactive. Make it fun. Let's get the people involved and let's have a great time with it. And let's get into it, right? So you got your products, you've got heart, you're hustling to get your name out there, but really here's the truth. If people don't know what you stand for, they'll forget you faster than a blink of an eye, right? Branding just isn't for big companies with the big old Super Bowl budgets. It's for the small shops, the home-based hustlers, the solar creators just like you and I, right? Your brand is what people think of when they hear your name. And that impression either brings in business or sends them scrolling. So, we're gonna try and break it down in plain English. 5 simple, powerful tips to help understand why your brand matters and how to build one that sticks. All right. So number one, your brand is a shortcut for what you stand for. A brand is more than your colors, your fonts, or your logo. It's the feeling that people get when they hear your name. A good brand gives your audience that mental shortcut. When they think of you, certain words, feelings, or expectations should come to mind automatically. It's all about creating that intentional associations that help people remember and trust you. If you don't define your brand, your audience will define it for you, and that can be risky, right? You might be aiming for creative and reliable, but if your posts are all over the place and your name looks like every other Etsy shop, people might think that you're just another casual hobbyist. You want your brand to do the talking even before you open your mouth. So instead of trying to look like everyone, ask yourself, what do I actually want to be known for? You know, what are the 3 words I want a stranger to use when describing my business? When you figure that out, you can really start shaping every decision, your tone, your visuals, your messages around those traits. Some examples is, you know, Nike instantly associated with, athleticism, competition, and performance. Their brand is tied to icons like Michael Jordan and, just the motivational power of just do it. Glitter and grit apparel. They're a small business that's known for its bold, sparkly, empowering messaging, targeting strong, outspoken women who love that extra shine. So, action step 1 is write down 3 words you want people to associate with your brand. Then ask 3 real people, you know, friends, customers, fellow makers, what word comes to mind when they see your business? Just compare and adjust. We've got a lot going on over the next 60 to 90 days, so a lot of our branding is going to change. A lot of the thing if certain things fall into place, we are going to have to adjust and make changes for that to happen. And so that's why we're always evaluating what we're doing, where we're going, and how we're getting there. because some of these things might change over time for it. Number two, your brand builds trust even before you speak, right? You know, customers just don't buy products, they buy confidence. You know, a consistent, polished brand that helps people feel safe. Uh, it helps them feel comfortable. They're good with spending money with you. If your business looks like, pulled together, things here, things there, they might assume that your process is that way too. You know, if it looks chaotic, if it looks rushed, if it looks inconsistent, they might hesitate. And it doesn't matter if your product is great. Trust really starts with that first impression. So think about how people discover you. On social media, through word of mouth, maybe at a craft show, vendor show, trade show. Before they've ever before they've ever messaged you or brought you something, they've already formed an opinion based on your colors, your tone, your photos, and how you carry yourself. This is why branding matters so much. It's your first handshake. Your storefront, your reputation. It's all of that rolled into one. And you don't have to be perfect or overly polished, but you do have to be consistent. Same name across platforms, the same tone in your captions, same style in your visuals, even if they're simple. Consistency builds familiarity, and familiarity builds trust. And thinking about this, I may or may not have in past lives used the F bomb quite a bit in social media posting. And I realized that it, might not be everybody's cup of tea. And if I want to build my brand, build our business, build everything we do, I need to cater to the masses, and people don't want to hear that. So I turn it off. That's why I stay away from any political posts, any religious posts, anything that is polarizing. I stay away from because our products are for everybody. And if I have to alienate one side or the other, then what good is that? So I stay really neutral on things on social media platforms, so that way, we have the broader audience to work with it. You know, um, take for example like Target. They use the same red branding and clean signage everywhere, from ads to aisles, social media. Customers trust that that experience is going to be the same every time for it. There's one that's called Mama Bear Prints. They're a small home-based T-shirt business, but they include handwritten thank you notes, bear-themed packaging, and that gentle mom-to-mom language in every order. It just works. People know what to expect with it. So, action step for this is let's pick 2 to 3 brand colors, and one main font that you'll use on everything. Your website, your packaging, social media posts, invoices. We just gotta keep it simple and repeat it everywhere for that consistent look. And before we get into 3, let's check in and let's see where we are with other ones in here. Jerry, I'm going to Orlando, daughter's family, to see the new, is that new Epcot? I think that's what only 2 days at Epcot. I think that's what it is. Fun. I think we're headed, I'm not sure when we're headed down there. Soon-ish, maybe? I don't know. Only 2 days, then airboat rides. Oh, hope so. It should be. Kim, good morning to you. 6:45 out there, right? You 6:45? I'm not sure. You're in one of those places that don't change time, so I'm not sure what time it really is out there. Highland and Kim. Hey, Kim, long time no see. Hope all is well. And Brian says, brand think is what customers think, not your logo. Good stuff. Like Brian's hat. If Brian doesn't wear that hat, it throws me off. I'm like, who the hell's this guy? Hey, Renee, how are you? All good. Just hot AF there in Arizona. Hope you're doing well too. It is up there. I may not want to hear the answer, Brian. Hi, Kim. Do you think changing your banner sometimes hurts or enhances your business? I think you can change as many times you want to. Find the one that works, because we're going to change messages. We're going to change things over time. Things evolve. Once you find what fits for you, then that's what you're going to stick with it. Other times too is there can be new things brought in, right? New processes, new systems. If we brought in, if you're in our mentorship community, I want an embroidery machine, not to embroider, just to learn more about it, content creation. But if we brought that in and found out, hey, we really enjoy embroidery, and next thing you know, we have 37 heads of embroidery in here, we'd be known as embroidery that we put it in there. As we go forward looking at things, with what we want to offer, that becomes part of it. It was where we have Level Up as its own retail side of things, so Fat Dad can focus on the print side of things, and then depending how things play out, things might change. We just move along with it. Kim said guilty. All right, see? Jerry, same about staying away from certain posts. Absolutely. I try to all the time. And Barb says, to me, F bomb dropping on social media shows unprofessional. And to me, it shows disrespect and limited vocabulary. And see, I don't 100% agree with you, how you feel about that. Me, I know some people that are very well off and very in the mix of things that vocabulary doesn't matter. They go with it and they're like, "Hey, if this is gonna offend you, this is how I talk. This is what it is, and that's what we're going on." So it's one of those where you have to embrace it. Whatever side that you're on, embrace it and go with it. I know where there's someone that you can't get through 2 sentences without dropping an F-bomb. I really try not to. Now, not saying that I'm fake online, but I'm more professional online. You get me together with a couple beers and we're, out or we're in a group setting with friends, you're gonna hear the F-bomb flow because you guys are my safe space. But I can't necessarily do that all the time in all the places. Kim says it's 6:45 there. Got it. Have to get up at 5:15 to take the puppies on their walk before it gets too hot. Just throw them in the pool, right? Let them swim around there. And Sarah says, "Good morning. Sorry I'm late. High of 85. Overnight oats in the shaker bottle." Well, that sounds different. Jeff says, "Zero issues with it, but I do my best to online." Right? Then right there, Jeff, I do my best to watch my P's and Q's on what I'm putting up there just so I don't offend anybody. And it's so easy to offend people these days. And that's what sucks. So I really just try not to. And a lot of times I don't spend a lot of time on social media. I might spend, a good couple hours on Sunday or Monday scheduling stuff for the week, but I am not on it a whole lot. Uh, Now, let's get back to this. Number three, a good brand makes you memorable, and this is even when you're small. It's easy to get lost in the sea of makers who sell custom everything. But branding is how you rise above the noise. When you build a recognizable brand personality, you make it easier for people to remember you, talk about you, come back to you again and again and again. Think about your own buying habits. You remember the businesses that made you feel something, that stood out visually, or had a tone that made you laugh or feel connected. If your brand is bland, people scroll past it. But if you're weird and bold and funny, nerdy, heartfelt, if you're something and you show that consistently, your audience will start to recognize you in a lineup of the sea of masses. You know, memorability. Memorable isn't about being flashy, and it's about being yourself on purpose and showing that personality everywhere. Whether that's through a funny mascot, quirky name, Fat Dad, or just that voice that feels human. Being memorable is how small businesses win. When we look at this, um, there is, a creator out there, Sweary Stitchery. It's a handmade embroidery shop that blends the awesome aesthetics of things with rude phrases, and it makes their vibe unique instantly and recognizable and shareable with it. So, what are we doing with this? Well, you know, this is where we need to make a list. Make a list of 3 things that make your brand you. Do you love puns? Are you obsessed with pastels? Do you include pet pics in every post? Just pick one and amplify it across the next 5, 10 social media posts and see what happens with it. Yeah. Number 4, branding saves you time and energy. Think of branding kind of like a filter. Once you've built a clear brand identity, every decision becomes easier. What to post, how to package and order, what kinds of photos to use. Instead of guessing every time, you can just ask, "Hey, does this fit my brand?" It's just a huge time saver with it. When you have those clear visual rules, a defined tone, or a set go-to message, you no longer are wasting that energy reinventing the wheel. You don't have to panic about what your next Instagram post is gonna be. You don't worry about what the next thing should sound like or even how to word things. A strong brand gives you, a template to work from. Yeah, even if they're just in your head. That kind of structure doesn't kill creativity either. It actually frees it, because when you stop spinning your wheels on things that don't necessarily matter, because you have that structured in there, you can spend more time creating great products, serving your customers, and enjoying your work. Like Apple, every single product, ad, story, it fits their brand's clean, minimalistic, high tech aesthetic, right? They don't guess, they just follow that same one. There's a little shop, Print Vibe Studios. Small shop with bold, cheeky voice, bright visuals. Their social posts, their packaging, and the product descriptions follow that same tone. They're making content creation fast and repeatable with it. So let's create your one-page brand guide. Include your logo, top three colors, preferred font, the brand tone. Are you funny, casual, and maybe two or three phrases that you'd actually say. Use it to check your posts, your website, and your packaging to make sure that everything is following brand. Before we get on to the last one, let's get in back into the comments and see where it is. Morning, Renee from Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Kim says, I use the F bomb a lot, but I know when and when not to use it. Legit, she does. Like, if she doesn't have one in at least one of our conversations, I think she's sick. It's kind of like me. Like, in conversation with people, yes, but I know there's a time and place for everything. I have friends that, are vegan. I'm not going to go all about the barbecue that we had on 4th of July. Even though I love it, I'm gonna be considerate of them. So I read the room. And Barb said, "Business look and private conversations are 2 different situations." Absolutely. And Sarah says, "My entire business is built on offensive material," right? And when you lean into that and that's what you're there for, you're good to go with it. Hi, Sarah from Barb. Hi, Barb. Yeah. Linda brings up a great example, Uranus fudge. I mean, you can't go. You have to stop scrolling when anytime they post. And just said, "Oh, Sarah, I think single me would approach this very different than married me with kids." Absolutely. Jerry says, "What booths me much more. What bothers me is GD due to the literal meaning of it. Just my opinion. I agree. All of them should not be. Oh, I think I know what GD. I think I know what that is. I think I know what that is. Absolutely, Jeff. 100% true. So that's not true, is it? It is. It is on her brand, and that's where Sailor Mouth, Sailor Mouth, Sailor Mouth, Sailor Mouth. Right? Wasn't that what it is? It literally described my business as slightly inappropriate material. Yes. Sailor Brian drops f bombs regularly with no thought about it. Yes, he does. No, not even a question about it. Just, it if you've never had a conversation with Brian before, go watch, let's watch Old School, and when the Dan Band is up there and they just kinda casually slip it in, that's how Brian is, where you don't know if you've heard it, but then you think you heard it. Dan Band, another great one to go try out. Um, then see Sarah, they know what to expect. Absolutely do. That's why we get along, Brian. That is true. Hey, Kim, what kind of pupsies? And Cindy says, I am for the humor side of gift giving. People always giggle visiting my booths. I get moved to better spots at shows because promoters say I show showmanship and they like my purple table covers. See? Building the brand. Cindy has a good brand. I love going to see what Cindy has out there for us. And, and Mike says, Brian, we are a whole different animal. Yes, yes, you are. All right. Number 5, let's wrap this up here. Your brand attracts the right customers, right? Because not everyone is your customer, and that's a good thing. A clear brand helps you attract people who love your style, respect your process, and are excited to support your business. It also helps gently push away the folks who are a bad fit. It's saving you time and energy and headaches. When your brand shows your personality, it acts like a magnet. The right customers feel like, yes, this is for me. Their alignment leads to repeat business, word of mouth referrals, and easier sales. The wrong customers, well, they'll scroll past, and that's okay. You don't want to appeal to everyone. You want to speak clearly to someone. Let me say that again. You do not want to appeal to everybody. You want to clearly speak to someone. All right. And this is why branding backfires. If your visual, your tones, and your product presentation try to please everyone, you'll end up connecting with no one. Instead, get specific on it and let your branding do the filtering for you. Like take example, Trader Joe's. They're not trying to compete with Walmart. They attract quirky, health conscious shoppers who want a fun, approachable grocery run. Right? There's the Monogram Mill. It's a small embroidery business, and they lean into the soft neutrals, the elegant fonts, and that classy Southern charm. So it perfectly attracting brides and boutique shoppers. Now, action step for this is let's write down who your dream customer is. The name, the age, what they love, what they need, and then look at your most recent post. What would that person feel like it was meant for them? Or would that person feel like it was meant for them? If not, hey, let's tweak those tones, those visuals or messages until it better aligns. So, in conclusion, all this, your brand already exists in people's mind. The only question is whether you're the one shaping it. Because branding isn't about logos and slogans. It's about the clarity, the confidence, and the connection. And when done right, it makes your business feel big time memorable. You don't need a full rebrand or a fancy agency. You just need to decide, what do I want to be known for? And am I showing up that way every time? That's what we got for you. Let me know. Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns in here. The next one that we're going to be doing, let me go, I'm going to go find my notes and see what it was in here because it was the branding in it. So we just went over branding, right? What's the next one on it? Is that right here? Two is going to be foundations of a strong brand. That's what we're going to talk about Wednesday. So, like defining your outcome. How are you aiming to launch a course or grow a community or attract clients? Identifying your niche, crafting your story. Articulating that clear position on it and being authentic. Those are things that we're going to talk about on Wednesday's show. So, make sure to go up, like and subscribe so when we go live you'll be notified. And remember, if you're watching replay, always put team replay in the bottom of the comments so that way we can see it there. And Jerry says, my nephew is retired Marine, current Army Reserve. Love him dearly and his vocab. I would 100% get that. Barb said, Zuckerberg wore a gray shirt every day for marketing and simplicity. Same way with Steve Jobs, wasn't it? Black all the time. Same thing every day. Not have to worry about it. You don't have to think. You just do it. Barb says, I think businesses at times don't recognize the context of background music played in their ads. 100% agree with that. They see trending stuff, and some of that stuff can get you in there with it. 100% with it. Yeah. Sometimes their music is so loud. Sometimes the message in their music is so loud too. Like that does not fit with this. I don't care if it's trending or not. Thanks, Jerry. Look at that Team Live replay. Oh, Jeff being all smart there with the Team Live replay. Okay. So we do this every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. If you're in our mentorship community, that call starts in 30 minutes. So make sure to check that out. If you're not part of that community, you can go sign up below for that $40 a month. We get you in there. There's things happening soon. I know everybody loves that word soon, but there's a lot of moving parts that are happening in the next 60 days, 60 to 90 days with things. So look for changes with us. Look on changes of we might be having sponsors come in here. We might be relocating to another channel. We might be purchasing new stuff. We might be selling stuff. We might be changing your brand completely or just adjusting it a little. There's a lot going on. So I highly recommend you to go like and subscribe and stick around for all of that because I'm going to need your help more than you know. And when I can tell you more information, I will. So until next time, peace, love, press on. We will see you then.